Hey guys, Jennifer here with the Family Fudge, and in today's video I'm sharing 5 super delicious Thanksgiving sides that you can make in your slow cooker. That way you'll have plenty of room for that turkey or your pies in the oven. Today I'm going to be sharing some creamy garlic mashed potatoes, a cheesy corn casserole, my version of a green bean casserole. I'll also be making a sweet potato casserole, and last but not least, one of my kids' favorite sides, extra cheesy mac and cheese. Now before we get started, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and hit that red subscribe button if you're new. And if you'd like to print out any of these recipes to use yourself, you can find them for free on thefamilyfudge.com. And without further ado, let's get cooking. First up, I'm making some creamy garlic mashed potatoes. It is definitely not Thanksgiving in my house unless there's mashed potatoes, and these ones are super easy to make, especially if you have a helper with you to help you peel the potatoes. Today I have my mom in the kitchen with me, and we're going to start this recipe by peeling our potatoes. Now to make a big crock pot full of mashed potatoes, you're going to want at least 5 pounds of potatoes. And you could really use any kind that you prefer. You could use red, yellow, or white. I'm going to be using some good old russet potatoes, and normally I'd be using bigger potatoes, but since I used Walmart grocery pickup, they decided to give me these little tiny potatoes, which is fine. These will work as well, but normally I'd probably get bigger potatoes. So once we have all of our potatoes nice and thoroughly washed, we're just going to go ahead and peel them. Now, if you want, you definitely could leave some of the potato peel on and have more of a rustic style mashed potato, but we're going to go ahead and remove all the peel because that's how we prefer it. Now, once the potatoes are peeled, the next thing you're going to want to do is to cut them into chunks. The smaller the chunks, the faster this will cook. And in this case, since I have really small potatoes, I'm not going to have to do a lot of chopping. So now all I have to do is add all of the potatoes into the crock pot. You definitely could spray this with some nonstick spray beforehand. And now I just have a few more things to add to these potatoes. First, I'm going to pour in 1 cup of chicken broth, followed by 1 teaspoon of onion powder and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Now I did say these were garlicky mashed potatoes. Now at this point, I'm not going to be adding anything else. Right now, I'm just going to go ahead and add on my lid, and I'm going to cook these on low for 6 to 7 hours. Okay guys, so now my potatoes are nice and tender. My next step is to go ahead and mash them up. I'm going to go ahead and use the potato masher method. So once I have these pretty much broken up, I have lots of yummy additions to add. First, I'm going to be adding 1 stick of butter. That's a 1/4 cup. Next, I'm adding a 1/4 cup of sour cream, and I'm really just going to eyeball this here. Now this next part is optional, but sometimes I like to add some cream cheese to my mashed potatoes. Now to make these potatoes extra creamy, you're also going to want to add either milk, cream, or half and half. Today I'm going to be using a mixture of half and half and 2% milk, a little bit at a time. Now when it comes to salt and pepper for this, my best advice is to add a little bit and then give it a taste. You know, some people really like a lot of salt in their mashed potatoes and some people don't. So this part is really up to you. And there you have it, you guys, some creamy garlic mashed potatoes. Next up, I'm going to be making my version of the green bean casserole. And when I say my version, it's pretty much the classic version with just a couple of changes. For this recipe, I'm going to start by draining 3 cans of green beans. These are just the regular canned green beans. I have made this recipe with fresh green beans before, but everyone in my family really prefers the canned stuff. Next, into a separate bowl, we're going to mix up our delicious creamy sauce. For this, I'm going to start with 2 cans or containers of cream of mushroom soup. Now, if you don't like cream of mushroom soup, you could also use cream of chicken or cream of celery, or if you want, you could even make your own cream of mushroom soup. But I really like these cartons I find at Trader Joe's. I think these are really good quality and a lot faster than making your own, so that's what I'm going to use. Now to the soup, I'm also going to be adding half a cup of milk, half a teaspoon of onion powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and then at this point I'm not going to be adding any salt because the cream of mushroom is pretty salty, and I'm going to be adding some French fried onions, which are really salty. So now I'm going to mix this all together and pour it directly on the green beans, and that's all I'm adding for now. I'm going to go ahead and get my lid on here, and I'm going to cook this on low for 4 to 5 hours. When the time is up, I'm going to go ahead and remove my lid, and I'm going to pour in about half of this container of French fried onions. And with these French fried onions, I'm actually going to mix them in throughout the green bean casserole. Then I'm going to add the rest of the French fried onions directly on top. These are nice and crunchy and salty. They are so good. Even my kids who aren't huge fans of green beans enjoy this casserole. Next up, I'm going to be making my simplified version of a sweet potato casserole. So for this recipe, the first thing you need to do is go ahead and wash and peel all of your sweet potatoes. Now again, I am super lucky to have my mom in the kitchen with me today, so she's definitely helping to make this process go a lot faster. We've set up a little assembly line where I do the peeling and she does the chopping, and it works out perfectly that way. So before we add these sweet potatoes to our slow cooker, I will go ahead and spray it with a little bit of non-stick spray, and then I'm just gonna dump them all in there. Next, in a separate bowl, I'm going to add 1 stick of melted butter, followed by a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now I'm going to whisk this all together and drizzle it all over the sweet potatoes. So now at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and add my lid and cook these on low for 7 to 8 hours, or until they're tender. Now when these are done cooking, I like to go ahead and mash them up directly in the crock pot, and I really want these sweet potatoes to be nice and fluffy. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my hand mixer for this. And then right before you serve these, you could also sprinkle a little bit of nuts on top, or as my family prefers, mini marshmallows. Next up, I'm making some cheesy corn casserole. This is definitely one of my favorite sides, and I pretty much only make it around Thanksgiving. For this, I'm going to start by dumping 2 cans of cream-style corn into my slow cooker, followed by 2 cans of corn, and I did go ahead and drain these already. Next, I'm going to pour in 2 boxes of corn muffin mix, and I like to use the Jiffy brand. To this, I'm also adding 1 cup of sharp cheddar cheese. I really like the sharp cheese in this. And then lastly, I'm going to drizzle in 1 stick of melted butter. Now all I'm going to do is mix this all together. Then I'm going to place my lid on top and cook this on high for just 2 to 3 hours. Now when you're done, this is going to be sort of like a soft cornbread consistency. We usually like to eat this with a spoon. It is so good. This really is a delicious addition to any holiday meal. Okay guys, now last but not least, one of my kids' favorite holiday side dishes, mac and cheese. And this is so easy to make in the crock pot. Let me show you how. This recipe is completely low maintenance. You don't have to pre-cook the noodles or make a white sauce. It's simple, but it's delicious. Now for my mac and cheese, I like to start with 1 pound of uncooked elbow noodles. And you guys, these are the jumbo ridged noodles. I really prefer these when making mac and cheese in the slow cooker. And that's because they don't tend to fall apart as quickly as smaller noodles do. And that's probably my #1 tip when it comes to making mac and cheese in the slow cooker. Now before I add anything to my crock pot, I definitely want to spray it with some non-stick spray. Of course, you could also use a slow cooker liner if you'd like. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add this entire box of noodles directly to my crock pot. And like I said, these are uncooked. Next, I'm gonna be adding 4 tablespoons of salted butter, followed by 4 ounces of cream cheese. And I went ahead and cut this into cubes. Next comes the salt and pepper. Now I'm gonna take it easy on the salt at this point. I'm just gonna be adding 1 teaspoon. I can always add more later if it needs it, but I don't want to go overboard. And then I'm also adding a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Next, I'm adding 3 cups of 2% milk, and then I'm adding 1/2 cup of cream. Now you could go ahead and substitute this for 1/2 and 1/2, but it won't be quite as creamy if you do that. Very last thing I'm going to be adding at this point is some ground mustard or powdered mustard. This is totally optional, you don't have to have this, but I think that the mustard powder in there actually makes the cheese taste cheesier. So I always add about 1 teaspoon. Right now I'm just going to mix it all together and then pop on the lid. I'm gonna cook this on low for about 2 hours. Or until the pasta is tender, and I am gonna make sure to stir it halfway through that cooking time. So now that the 2 hours are up, I'm gonna go ahead and remove that lid and give it a stir. And this is looking really good already. The noodles are nice and soft, but they're not mushy. They're not quite done cooking yet. And that's because I still have to add in all of the cheese. Now, I would recommend using at least 3 cups of cheese for this. You definitely could use more if you'd like. And what kind of cheese is totally up to you. I'm just using 3 cups of sharp cheddar cheese. Now I'm gonna go ahead and mix this all together. I'm just using a little bit of this cheese for topping it. Now I'm gonna pop my lid back on and cook it for about 10 more minutes or until the cheese is completely melted. This looks so good, you guys. And you can see there's even some little brown bits along the side. Those are my favorite. I love the little burnt bits. Now, like I said, this mac and cheese is definitely a crowd pleaser. It actually reminds me a lot of the new mac and cheese they're selling at Chick-fil-A. It tastes very similar to that. But again, you guys, make sure to check those noodles as you're cooking this. You do not want to overcook them. Now let me know in the comments down below what recipes you're making for the holidays this year, because I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.